Subway is the largest restaurant chain in the United States. Not the most profitable, not the most loved, but the biggest, with more American locations than Starbucks and more than McDonald's. And it is quietly disappearing. In 2025 alone, Subway closed a net 729 restaurants across America. That was its 10th straight year of shrinking. And in that exact same year, the company reported the highest profit in its recent history, $688 million, up from just $15 million 2 years earlier. Read that again. The stores are vanishing, and the money is exploding. That is not a contradiction. That is the business model finally showing its face. Because the thing Subway actually sells was never the sandwich. Let us start with the scale of what is happening, because it is genuinely difficult to comprehend. In 2015, Subway had more than 27,000 locations in the United States. Today, it has roughly 18,700. That is a decline of nearly 30%. Between 2016 and 2025, the chain closed a net total of more than 8,300 restaurants. To put that in perspective, the number of Subways that have quietly evaporated over the last decade would itself rank among the largest restaurant chains in the entire country. And here is the strange part. Subway is still number 1 in America by store count. It is falling from the highest mountain there is, and it has so much altitude left that it is still winning the thing it is losing. The collapse is also unusually quiet. There is no bankruptcy filing, no dramatic liquidation, no going out of business signs in the window. Franchisees are walking away at a rate of roughly 4% of locations every single year, mostly by simply not renewing when the lease and the franchise agreement expire at the same time. They do not fight. They just stop. One day, the sign comes down, a nail salon moves in, and nobody writes a single news story about it. So why does a Subway restaurant stop working? To understand that, you have to look at the arithmetic of a single store, because it is brutal. The average Subway location in America brings in somewhere around $500,000 a year. That sounds like a lot until you compare it to the neighbors. Jersey Mike's averages roughly $1,400,000 per restaurant, nearly 3 times as much. Jimmy John's averages around $1 million. Same sandwich category, same lunch rush, 3 times the revenue per building. And while Subway shed 729 locations last year, Jersey Mike's added more than 200. Now take that $500,000 store and start subtracting. Under the current franchise terms, an operator pays 8% of gross sales as a royalty, plus another 4.5% into the National Advertising Fund. That is 12.5% off the top, before a single employee is paid, before the rent, before the bread, before the electricity. And that 8% royalty is not the historic rate. For decades, Subway charged 4.5%, the number nearly doubled. Here is why that matters so much. A 5% royalty on a $3 million McDonald's still leaves the operator an enormous pile of dollars to work with. 8% on a $500,000 Subway takes a far bigger bite out of a far smaller pie. The percentage is not the problem. The percentage applied to that revenue is the problem. Then come the costs that arrive on someone else's schedule. Franchisees face mandatory remodels as roughly every 10 years. And those can run from $60,000 to over $100,000. Refuse, and you risk losing the agreement entirely. So an operator earning a modest living gets told to spend a year of profit on new lighting and new colors, or lose the business. And then there is the wound Subway inflicted on itself, on purpose, for a decade. The $5 footlong was one of the most successful promotions in fast food history. It was also a trap. It trained an entire country to believe that a foot of sandwich should cost $5 permanently. When beef, cheese, bread, and labor all climbed, the price expectation did not climb with them. Corporate got a wildly successful marketing campaign. Franchisees got a decade of compressed margins and customers who felt insulted by any price that looked normal. But the deepest structural problem is the one nobody sees from the sidewalk. For most of its history, Subway did not give franchisees protected territory. If you built a profitable store, someone else could open another Subway a few blocks away, and corporate would approve it. Your competition was not Jimmy John's. Your competition was Subway. Every new store meant another royalty stream for headquarters, and a smaller slice of the same neighborhood for you. That is not a bug in the model. That is the model. Which brings us to the detail that should stop any potential buyer cold. When you buy a franchise, the company hands you a franchise disclosure document. In it, there is a section called Item 19, where the franchisor tells you what its restaurants actually earn. It is how you decide whether the investment makes sense. Subway does not include it. It is the only major fast food franchise in America that declines to disclose that information. People were investing somewhere between $239,000 and $537,000 into a business whose average performance they were not permitted to see. So the stores are struggling. The operators are leaving. The footprint has shrunk by nearly a third. And now we get to the part that explains everything, because you would expect all of that pain to land on the company itself. It did not. It landed almost entirely on the franchisees. Look at the corporate numbers again. Net income of $15 million in 2023, $397 million in 2024, $688 million in 2025. The same year, 729 restaurants closed. The worse the restaurants performed, the better the company did. Here is the mechanism. Royalty revenue, the money that comes from franchisee sales, fell about 10% over 2 years. That is exactly what you would expect when thousands of stores disappear. But total company revenue fell only about 4.8%. The gap was filled from somewhere else, and a large part of that somewhere else is rebates from suppliers. That is money paid to the parent company by the vendors who sell ingredients and equipment into the system. Notice what that means. That revenue does not depend on whether your store is busy. It depends on how much stuff moves through the network. Subway also raised the royalty on new agreements from 4.5% to 8%. So fewer restaurants, each paying nearly double, plus a growing stream of money that arrives from suppliers rather than from customers. And in April of 2024, the private equity firm Roark Capital bought Subway for around $9.6 billion. They did not buy it in spite of the closures. Anyone reading those filings could see the closures coming. They bought a payment stream. Roark did not purchase 18,000 sandwich shops. It purchased the right to collect a percentage from 18,000 small business owners, plus rebates from everyone who sells to them. If that structure sounds familiar, it should. It is the same shape as the biggest bubble tea chain on earth, which makes almost all of its money selling ingredients to its own franchisees rather than selling drinks to you. It is the same shape as an ice cream machine that earns more when it is broken. The visible business and the actual business are not the same business. And once you understand that, the paradox dissolves completely. A closed Subway is not a failure for the parent company. It is a customer who finished paying. But here is the part that keeps this from being a simple story about a dying brand, because Subway is not actually dying. In 2025, while America was losing 729 restaurants, Subway opened more than 1,000 locations internationally. It signed master franchise agreements covering countries from Spain to South Korea, and its international pipeline now includes commitments for more than 12,000 future restaurants. So the sandwich is fine. The brand is fine. What is broken is a single specific thing: the density of the American market. There are simply too many Subways in the United States chasing the same lunch, a problem the company created by approving every store it possibly could. The chain is not collapsing. It is being surgically thinned, and the thinning is being paid for entirely by the people who signed the agreements. So the next time you drive past an empty storefront where a Subway used to be, understand what you are looking at. Not a business that failed, a business that worked exactly as designed. For 20 years, the number that mattered was how many agreements had been signed, not how many operators survived. The sandwich was never the product, the franchisee was. If you enjoyed pulling back the curtain on the business behind your food, subscribe, because there is a hidden economy inside everything you eat.